Good morning. Hi, happy solstice. I feel like it's been a long time since I've been on here for a live demo, and I did miss last week, so I guess it just feels like I've been gone for a while. So it is solstice today, and solstice is kind of my favorite part of the holiday season because it's it's that planetary event where now starting tomorrow our days are just a little bit longer. There's a return of the light, and it always feels like the new year to me, so it's kind of my favorite. So what I'm demoing for you guys today is some wine charms that will make absolutely beautiful accessories for your holiday table or your holiday gathering or whatever it is you might be going to do. And also very, very easy to put together for holiday gifts. So I'm going to give it just a couple minutes to see if other people might pop in. I was talking about the solstice, and up until 2020, actually it would have been solstice 2019. Well, no, wait, it was just last year. It was solstice 2020. My husband and I have, as part of our holiday routine for, the whole thing between Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, actually, we started having a solstice gathering, an open house at our home. Hi, Alma. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. We would cook a bunch of food and just invite all our friends and family to come by and celebrate the solstice. And we would have a lot of votive candles set out and invite people to light candles to welcome back the light and to say a little prayer for the coming year. So I've been missing that. We toyed with the idea of having it this year, but then Omicron started coming around, and we just went, it might be safer to just skip it again this year. So I'm really missing it because it is my favorite part of the holiday season. So happy solstice to all of you. First day of winter, and then starting immediately, the light will start. We'll have slightly longer days every day. Hi, Lynn. Nice to see you. So my solstice story, I am just very pleased that I'm doing this demo for you guys on this day because it is such a happy day for me. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera. We don't have too many people popped in yet, but that is okay because so many of our people watch this later anyway. So the link for this project is, I'm going to pop it into the comments here because I like to do that to make sure you guys can get to it easily. Hello, Geeta. So nice to see you. Donna, yes. And it is a great idea. And I'm also, all right, let's not jump ahead too much. So I've just posted a link to the project on our website, so you can download that with the instructions. And hello, Janine from Tennessee. And happy holidays back to you, Geeta. Let's see, today's Tuesday. Tierra Cast closes between Christmas and New Year, so we'll be here tomorrow. And then Thursday is our kind of holiday lunch, and then we're closed until after the first of the year. So that might be another reason why I'm kind of happy today, because it's a short week and then we're on vacation. So yay. All right, so ingredients that you need for this project. Obviously this is our Christmas, we're going with the Christmas theme because of the holidays. You could easily adapt to this. I'm also going to post a couple links to some of the products we're using in the project. So here's a link to our Christmas themed charms on our website. There's a link to the Charm Keeper hoops that we're going to be using. These little wire hoops that we have, we call them Charm Keeper hoops. And they come in 3 sizes. And so that link that I just posted will take you guys to look at those. And what is very interesting about these hoops is that they have a hook. The smallest ones are 17 gauge wire. Larger ones are slightly more. But they have a little hook so that you can just pop them open and close. It makes it really fun and easy to just string things onto the hook. They also make bases, great bases for wire wrapping and other kinds of embellishments. So those are the hooks we're using for this wine charm. And it makes a great wine charm. I'm going to stand this glass up, but it's kind of weird with under the camera. So to pop these onto a glass, which I'll demonstrate, of course, at the end, but it's just super easy. You just can pop it onto the glass and hook it closed. So so they work really great for this idea. So there's a link to, hello, Danielle. Hi from Seattle. It's really nice to see you. So we got a link for you to the hoops, got a link for you to the charms. We do have another wine charm project on our website. I think I demonstrated, it's possible I demonstrated this over the summer. I don't remember, but I'm throwing a link to those in there too. Now those ones are a little bit different. They use craft wire, and it's a different technique, but they are also kind of a hook that just hooks around your wine charm or your wine glass and really make a fun, very customizable wine charms for whatever your event is. So I just threw a link to that in there too, which brings me to, again, back to our hooks, our Charm Keeper hoops. Fabulous, but you may not happen to have them sitting around. So I am going to demonstrate at the end, when we're done with this part of it, I'm going to show you a craft wire do-it-yourself Charm Keeper hoop hack. So stay tuned for that. Hello, Lena. Nice to see you. Happy holidays to you. All right. So the other things that we're going to need for this project are, I've got some spacers. The smallest wire hoop is 17 gauge. So that's just a smidge over 1 millimeter. So you just need to make sure that whatever spacers you're going to use are have a minimum 1 millimeter hole. I'm using some size 6 seed beads, which typically will have a hole big enough to fit on that wire. You may need to check, depending on what you've got around. And then I've got some jump rings. I'm using our small round jump rings, which are, let's see if I can find them here. Our 4 millimeter ID, which is the inside dimension. And they're about a 20 gauge wire jump ring. And that's it. So when I wrote the instructions for this, it's been a while since I came up with this design. And when I originally wrote the instructions, I was imagining that I could just string on the spacers. And then I was like, oh yeah, there are little modifications you have to make to this to make it work. Because it's hard to get things around that hook unless it's a very narrow piece and the hole is quite large. So it's a little hard to get things around there. There's no way in heck that the seed bead's going to go around there. So as I was writing the instructions, lost that seed bead. Okay, there it is. As I was writing the instructions yesterday, I realized, oh, that does not work. Oh yeah, I need to make a modification. So what I am doing is just coming in here with a pair of chain nose pliers, and I'm opening up this hook. And I'm opening it up enough so that I'll be able to string all of the materials on there. And I do want to make sure there's not too much of a bend there, so that whatever spacer I decide to use, depending on the hole size, we need to make sure that it's going to go around that little, boy, I'm very clumsy today. It's going to have to go over whatever bend there is in the wire. All right, so I'm going to skip that spacer. The hole is not quite big enough. I think that one might work on the craft wire one that we do later. So this one works. This is our 4 millimeter disc spacer. it's listed in the project that I just linked to. And I've got a collection of all of our Christmas charms here. And I think I'm going to go, I have some pretty, red and green are very traditional Christmas colors. You'll also find a lot of silver and gold. And, but because it's solstice, I'm actually going to go with this kind of iridescent blue, which I like very much. So I'm stringing on one of the spacers and one of the seed beads. And I'm going to repeat that. Oops, spacer, then seed bead. I'm going to repeat that 3 times. And also you could just customize this pattern however you wanted. The only thing that you need to make sure you do with your pattern, that seed bead didn't quite want to go around there. The only thing you want to make sure you do with your pattern is make sure that you leave some wire exposed so that you can hold on to it when you're opening and closing your hook to attach it to your glass. So, but beyond that, you can, do whatever you want with your pattern. For the original versions, I did a pattern of spacer, seed bead, spacer, seed bead, spacer, seed bead. I'm sorry, I'm glancing over at the comments to make sure there's no questions or anything that I need to answer. And then here at the back, because this will be sort of the center of the pattern, I'm going to string 2 spacers in a row. And that's because those will, when your wine charm is attached to your glass, it will separate there at the center. But they'll move around, but when you're arranging them, you'll have a kind of a center, 2 spacers separated there. So that's why I've got 2 spacers in a row there. And then I'm just going to continue that pattern with a few more seed beads and spacers. And it could be really fun to use these hoops with some wire wrapping of some embellishment around the edges too. That could be very pretty. You can do a lot. They're really kind of handy little components for doing the wine charms. If you've made wine charms before, it's pretty common to use ring-sized memory wire. And memory wire, well, that seed bead's just doesn't want to go on there. Seed beads can have variation in hole sizes. So if one doesn't work, just move it on past and grab another one and hope that one works. Memory wire is steel wire, kind of hard to work with. But it is a very, very common material to use for wine charms. Okay, so I've got all the seed beads and the materials I want strung on there. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to go back and kind of reform my hook. This is, I think I already said, 17 gauge wire. So it is pretty sturdy, but you can reform it pretty easily. And I'm trying to make sure it's straight too, that I didn't get it completely bent out of shape. And then I can just got it enough where it'll hook around there. You don't want to reform it too tight. You want to be able to get it on and off your wine glass pretty easily. And then the last thing to do is choose one of your charms. And I'm going with the snowflake because it's the first day of winter and a snowflake feels appropriate. And just use one of those small jump rings to attach that to the hoop, the little loop at the bottom. And that's how simple that is. And Lynn is saying she's made some similar earrings using our Charm Keeper hoops, Lynn? Because I have definitely used these in multiple ways. We call them Charm Keeper hoops because in theory you could put an ear wire here or hang this from a bail and use it as a pendant and add any charms or other embellishments you want. And the idea is you can take things off and put them back on as you wish. So you could have kind of an array of your favorite charms, talisman type of things, and then you could swap them out and put different ones on there if you want. So that's kind of a fun thing about it. So now I'm going to show you guys the DIY hack, just using craft wire. So I'm going with 18 gauge, and there's just, you can get craft wire in so many fun colors. Right now, artistic wire has these like variegated kind of colors that are fun. Soft flex wire also has lots of colors. So in this case, I think we'll use this green because I went with my solstice theme, and now I think I'll go with a real Christmassy palette. So I'm going to go with red beads, I think. And in this case, because it's 18 gauge wire, it's ever so slightly smaller than the 17 gauge wire hooks. Trying to decide, I think this is one of our brass colored hoops. Our hoops come in multiple colors. So first I thought this was one of the DIY ones that I made, but it's not. It's actually one of our brass ones that I've opened the hook. But right now I'm going to use this green 18 gauge craft wire. And I don't need much. I need about, what is this, maybe 5 inches? It's probably more than I need. I played with this yesterday, but I didn't write down the specifics. I didn't measure exactly how much wire I used and etc. This wire's a little bit crooked, so I'm gonna straighten it a little bit. If it doesn't straighten as I wish, I'm gonna just cut a new piece. And it's just too crooked. I'll set it aside and save it for something else. All right, so I've got my length of 18 gauge craft wire in a fun color, and I have a ring mandrel, which is what I was using yesterday when I was playing with the idea. Let's get some of this stuff off of I tend to get so much stuff on here that it gets busy and it gets hard to see. So let's set some of these aside. Here's some of the DIY ones that I was playing with yesterday. I did use a ring mandrel, which is a fabulous little thing to have around if you're doing lots of wire work. If you don't have one, I think that a highlighter marker or what do you call these? There's a word for them. Marker will be just about the right diameter. So I'm just going to kind of coil this wire around my highlighter pen. And I'm just smoothing it down because I really want to kind of get it into a nice round shape. And that does seem like a very good size. I think it'll work just fine. I'm noticing there's kind of a not quite round spot, so I'm just pressing it back down onto the marker. We can always play with that later or be happy with the imperfection. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to call this kind of the center. I've got one side that's a little longer, which is good. That's what I need. And then I want to make sure that I have about maybe not even 3/8 of an inch on this side that's going to be the hook. And I can just adjust all this. I don't have to be precise with the measurements because I can trim and adjust as I need to. So I'm leaving that little bit on this side. This is going to be my hook. And on this side, I'm just going to start to make a wrapped loop. So I'm going to bend it up like that. I'm going to I'm going to grasp that with kind of near the end of my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to bend that back so I can start to make a wrapped loop there. And I do want a little bit of space here because we're going to need space both for a couple of wraps here of the wire, and then we're also going to need space for that hook to be able to come around. So that needs to be, I've got it bent a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch of space in there. And again, if I'm not quite accurate enough with that, I can adjust. Craft wire is very forgiving. It's quite soft. So I'm going to start a wrapped loop. And I need to be careful here. The craft wire is softer, so I don't want to get it all, misshapen. So I'm going to be a little bit careful with how I'm handling this and make sure I keep it kind of in its round shape. Getting my wrapped loop going. And I'm going to wrap that around twice, I think. You could just do one. I'm kind of, when I said I'm going to make one of our charm keeper hoops out of craft wire, so I'm kind of going with that, with how that one is constructed. And it has just a couple of wraps. And then trim that off. And my favorite tool for tucking in a wrapped loop is the front notch of some crimping pliers, because it just kind of rounds it nicely. And I should point out here, I'm noticing when you're working with this colored craft wire, you can scrape the color off unintentionally. So if you, and I don't have any of this, I kind of wish I would, and maybe it's something I'll look into after the first of the year. You can buy that stuff that you can dip your tools into. That's a kind of gives them a rubber coating, which works really, really well for craft wire and wire working, because then it doesn't mar up your wire so much. So there's this material that you can do that with, and I don't happen to have any, but I think I should check into that. If anybody knows the name of that material that you dip your tools into, please post it. It's good info to have. So now these little spacers that have that slightly smaller hole, they work just fine on this 18 gauge wire, because it is just a teeny bit narrower than the 17 gauge on the Charm Keeper hoop. And I'm just repeating my seed bead spacer pattern. And this time we're going with those bright red beads with that green wire. Tool Magic. Thank you, Karen. Tool Magic. It is called Tool Magic. I need to get myself some of that. So here's where I'm doubling up on my spacer, because that's going to be the back side where it comes down around the stem of the wine glass. And I wanted to show you guys this because, if you've got the 18 gauge wire sitting around, you won't necessarily have our hoops sitting around, but if you've got this 18 gauge wire sitting around, this is a great last minute gift for somebody. So you could throw them together pretty easily, and it doesn't have to be Christmas themed. I'm going to set that down for a second while I'm thinking of it. Last summer, I used Charm Keeper hoops. I skipped the seed beading, but I used them to make some kind of summery water themed wine charms. So, just because it's Christmas doesn't mean your gift has to be Christmas themed. So you could do this with whatever you got and really put together some beautiful stuff. So very good gifts. All right, where were we? Did I have all of my beads on there? I do. That's enough. And now I'm going to come back here and use my round nose pliers to how should I get positioned here? To make a hook. And I think I do want to make this hook a little bit, kind of close it well so that this stuff doesn't slip around easily. When you're opening and closing these hooks to put on your wine glass, if that hook is closed fairly narrowly, then your beads won't slip around it. And another thing you could do, since you're now, whoops, too many thoughts at once. I'm noticing that there's not quite enough room for my hook to go around the space that I left here when I was talking about how much space I needed for the wire wrapping and stuff. I didn't leave quite enough space, so what I'm going to do is just go in with my round nose pliers and tip this whole thing up a teeny bit till I give myself enough space for that to hook a little bit cleaner. And then I can come back and straighten out the hoop. Got a little bit tipped sideways when I did that, but I can just go in and straighten it back out. So many thoughts. A cut burr. If you, oops, somebody's got a suggestion. In a pinch, you could wrap some masking tape or washi tape around your pliers. That is true. I have done that. Just wrapped some blue painter's tape around the edges of my the plier jaws so that they didn't scratch things up so much. Thank you, Lynn. That's a great suggestion. This is a cut burr. A cut burr, if you're not familiar, if you're not a real big wire worker, is like, that's like a file in there. It's a tiny little bowl that you use for sanding or just kind of taking the edge off the ends of wire. So I could go in with a cut burr if I wanted on the edges of this wire and smooth them down a little bit. And because I am using craft wire, that's, it's a coated wire. So you've got usually a copper core. I could go in here with a Sharpie. If I didn't like that copper core was showing, I could just go in there and touch the ends of it with a green Sharpie and it would camouflage those a little bit. Lots of tips today. All right, so I don't just happen to have green jump rings. I don't know why. Maybe we should make green jump rings. That seems a little silly, but I'll have to use a silver jump ring. That'll go with the charm anyway. And take our Santa, just attach him to that. So there we go. We did a more solstice themed one. And then we did a very Christmassy themed one. And this also, as someone mentioned, Lynn mentioned that she has used these hoops for earrings. They'd also make great pendants. So, and also you should know that the craft wire is a little bit softer. So as you're putting them onto your wine glass, you want to be a little bit more careful, and also know that it'll work harden eventually a little bit, so it won't be so soft and malleable. This particular wine glass, what happened to my other bead? Oh, I'm not hooked, or I am, but it got out of shape, so I gotta tuck it back in there. The stem of this wine glass is kind of wide, so you could definitely customize the size of, if you're doing the DIY hack with craft wire and you happen to have wine glasses with large stems, you could definitely customize the size of your hoop to work with your, whatever your wine glass looks like. So I don't know, how does that look? That wine glass is just right in the face there, huh? Can't hardly see it. Let's tip it. So there you go. Solstice, Christmas, New Year's, holiday, wine charms for you or your friends. Find some place to put this glass where it's out of the way. So I think that's all I've got for you, you guys. The directions that are downloadable on the website do not include this DIY craft wire hack, but maybe I will figure out a way to get that on there because it really is a nice, easy substitute for our Charm Keeper hoops. You know, if you can't get your hands on some of those, this will work just great. The instructions are not on this page, but I'll see what I can do. Maybe I can get some brief step-by-step pictures or something on there. Okay, I'm going to switch my camera. All right. So cheers, you guys. I wish there was something in this. I could put coffee in it, I guess. Merry Christmas to everybody. And Happy New Year and Happy Solstice. And it's been quite a year. And I have to admit, I'm not sad to see the back of it. If you have time, could you show us your Celestial Charm necklace? Do you mean the one I'm wearing, Lynn? Let me know if you mean the one I'm actually wearing. I'm happy to show you that. Actually, let me grab one that's not attached. I think what Lynn is asking about is this necklace that is made with our sun and moon pendant that is two-sided, and I am wearing one today very intentionally because, you know, it's a solstice. And I'm wearing what I call my solstice sweater, which is the color's just not showing up, but it's very deep blue with blue sparkles. I just thought it was perfect. So yes, this pretty little necklace is made with our sun and moon pendant, which has a moon and stars on one side and a sun on the other. And then it's got a couple of, it's got a check glass bead and a little pearl for embellishment. And it's just on a sliding knot leather cord. So it's a very, very easy project to put together. And also, we sell this in a kit. So if you guys, I'm going to find a link for you to that project on the website. And it is, as I was saying, a kit. And you would look for it under the same name if you're looking for a retail source for the kit. Let's see. Looking for that. So we call this design, the one that I'm wearing, the Starry Night necklace. Throwing a link in the comments right now. It is perfect for today. So thank you, you guys. And this is my last demo of the year. As I was saying at the beginning, we will be on break until the shop reopens on January 3rd on Monday. I will not be back in the office until the 4th. So I'll put a demo together. The first one of 2022 will be on the 11th. So looking forward to a new year. And I hope that all of you have blessed holidays and wonderful times with family and friends and good memories. If there's people that you can't see, hold them in your heart. And I will see you guys in January. Okay, bye.